Hi, I'm Steve Erickson, the Midlife Solopreneur, and I'm here with my son, Jake Erickson from Flow Campaigns for a daily debrief.
In this short form daily podcast, we'll share some progress updates with what we're working on with the Midlife Solopreneur business so you can follow our journey along with us. We'll share some helpful tips and strategies along the way that you can apply to your own solopreneur business.
So for me, it's quite important where I came from because it explains why I'm doing what I'm doing. So when I was 6 years old, my father was running a local store in a small community. He just bought into it. And it was quite successful for a while. And then a couple of years later, he had a gas pump outside of his store. A couple of years later, the gas company decided to close all of the gas pumps attached to small stores. And when he did, what happened was that people had to drive 15, 20 minutes to fill gas at the gas station. And there was a supermarket, a big chain supermarket right next to the gas station. And what happened was that my father went bankrupt. And I'm from Norway, and in Norway back then, he had to stay in bankruptcy for 10 years. So as you can imagine, when I was growing up, this was quite an impact on my life, always knowing that my father had it hanging over him that he might be having money taken away from him just because he had been in bankruptcy and still was. Now, when he came out of bankruptcy, he was then later on trying to start a business. And it didn't go very well. And it was really because he was from a small community, a small place, and he didn't have the information that he needed to become successful. Now, my journey, I started in 1977 with computers. I went online for the first time in 1983, and I went on the internet in 1993. And during that period, I did a bachelor in engineering in electronics, and I also did an MBA. You see, I decided my father didn't have the knowledge that he needed to become successful. So I was going to set out and make sure that I had the knowledge. And what's better than a 2-year MBA to give you the knowledge on how to succeed in business? Well, I started up an internet service provider in 96 and I ran that for around 98, 99. I always called it my failure to succeed. And why is that? Because when other people were able to sell their business for 6 and 7 figures, I was only able to sell my business for 5 figures. And I was wondering, what did I do wrong? Why did I fail to succeed in that business when I had my business degree as well? Well, I set out on a journey in 2000, starting in 2000, to learn what was actually effective marketing. What did I do wrong in my business? And I discovered a whole world that I'd never heard of before with direct response copywriting, with how you're aligning your message and your market. And there's so many things that I started learning about that had never been taught as part of the business school. In 2004 to 2007, I even ran a small local directory to local households. And we sold advertising to all the local shops, the dry cleaner, the car garage, etc. And we created hundreds of ads back then. And these were really successful ads as well. So what happened then was that I had started understanding and applying everything I had learned to the marketing world and to my clients so they could get results. Now, later on, I went back into employment. And during the employment, I was even then doing more lead generation and creating websites and more. And later on, I took on a role in a technology capacity. I was working with a company in the US where I was responsible for all of the websites, all of the landing pages, all of the systems, CRM, etc. And over a 6-year period, I went from being the first employee in the technology department to actually become the chief technology officer and leading a team of 6 people. And there was quite a lot to do because the company grew significantly during that period of time. And then something happened. My father died. He passed away from Alzheimer's in December of 2019. And it made me reflect. He had not achieved his goal of having his own small business. He was not successful. And it was quite sad for me to go through this. And at the same time, I started finding out that a lot of people, a lot of solopreneurs, were signing up for expensive programs, sometimes costing $10 and $15 and $25,000. And they didn't have the basics in place to even benefit from the programs. Without mentioning any names, there was one program in particular where you had to have a ready-to-go product that you could promote during this high-end coaching program. And we spoke to a person who said, well, we can't afford to do anything else because I committed this program, but I don't actually have a product yet, and I don't know how to put that product together. And that's quite an upsetting thing, both for the person who goes through it and also for me, bearing in mind what my father went through. So as I went through this was in the beginning of 2020, and as I've gone through the year, I've seen more and more how people are struggling because they don't have the basics in place. But I've spent 20 years actually studying marketing and studying what works. And as part of that, I've created my own framework that is really helping people to understand how to align themselves with a business strategy, with a messaging, so they are attracting clients. So I decided to go out on my own and create the Midlife Solopreneur business, which is all about helping people with their technology and with the messaging and getting clients. So that's what I'm doing. And what we're doing here is to document the journey as I'm starting on that. Over to you, Jake.
Sure. So my introduction is going to be a little bit shorter because I've worked for far fewer years than this guy. But I spent 2 years in management consulting after graduating from college with an undergrad degree in business. And that job has taken me firstly from the US, then doing an engagement actually in Europe as well. And then finally moving to the Middle East, where I actually lived in Dubai for a year until the COVID situation happened. And that has brought me back home to Norway for a little bit with some extra time to really think and reflect about what I'm interested in. And through having these conversations with my father, I realized that whilst it's interesting to work for a large business, potentially a multi-million or multi-billion-dollar business and help them achieve more revenues, what really excites me is actually helping smaller businesses make a monumental change in their trajectory. So while I can help a multi-billion-dollar business earn a few more $1 million, that can often only be a 1-2% increase. Where I'd rather make a 100-200% increase in a smaller business. So after reading and reflecting, what I'm going to be doing moving forward is helping businesses set up campaigns, automations, and sales funnels to help them grow their business.
So we've created this podcast now together, and we've set a goal. We're going to do 365 episodes at least. That is one episode every single day. If Jake is not available, I will do it. If I'm not available, he will do it. We'll fulfill each other there. Now, this podcast will be 5 to 15 minutes long, and I will document everything that I'm doing, and we're sharing tips and tricks and everything in this business. You see, our aim is to help all coaches, all consultants, and other solopreneurs to get more clients and build a solid business. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to sharing our journey with you. Thank you.